Hello and welcome to another episode of Interview with a Schizophrenic. I'm your host, Duncan, a samurai singer, and today I've got the great pleasure of welcoming back Frank. Frank is quite special to this podcast because he was on episode 1, and he was actually, it was quite interesting because I feel that was quite a good episode, and it's the most popular episode in terms of streaming stats out of all of them. And I think it was an interesting episode, and Frank has a lot of insights. And, just to go with the schizophrenic diagnosis as well, he's got a lot of insights in the world and the metaphysical side of the world as well. And I think we're going to talk about that later. So Frank is from New York. He's just turned 37. So welcome, Frank. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing pretty darn well. Thank you for asking.
So Frank, what I first thought I'd ask you is if you would like to give you like an update, if there's anything you want to talk about your own mental health in regards to schizophrenia. If you want to talk about that, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I think I've been doing pretty well recently. I've learned quite a bit over the past couple of years in my journeys and experimenting around the country, trying to understand what it is we go through and why. And I think everything that I've learned has really helped me to cater to my mental health in the best possible way for me. So I'm feeling pretty good these days.
But you sound pretty stable, I would say. I mean, is that not the case? Are you still sort of fighting it on a daily basis?
Well, I would say, yeah, definitely the struggle is still there. I think that I've learned different ways and tools of being able to manage the symptoms that I deal with. And I think with these tools that I've learned through everything that I've gone through, they've been extremely helpful. And so, some days are always better than others. I think that's pretty normal. But on the days that aren't so great, I think I have really good coping mechanisms and tools in my toolbox these days that help me to get through it, so that I can keep my sights on where they need to be.
Yeah, because I remember in the first episode that we did, you shared some of your artwork, and your artwork is pretty impressive. It's pretty high quality. So is that something that helps you? Is that one of your tools? Is expressing yourself through art?
Definitely. I think art plays a very big role in how I deal with the world around me and how I deal with what I experience. I think art therapy is definitely a very real thing, and it's gotten me through some of my darkest times. So, I think my art is definitely that, definitely plays a role in that, as well as, my desire to understand things on a deeper level. I think putting my energy into that has really helped me stay focused.
Yeah, because I think we'll move on to the next topic is more about, as you say, what you've been doing the last few years, your journey. I think you've been traveling around, doing some interesting stuff. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, okay. Actually, I went on a cross-country trip last year, and I actually ended up doing 15 different investigations around the United States. And my goal was really just to understand what it is that exists out there a little better. And my hope was also to, in my own understanding, being able to help others understand better what's out there. And so, I'm embarking on this new journey. I'm starting a YouTube channel that will host videos from my various different investigations and such. And so my hope is that I can help everybody else better understand what actually exists out there, as well as what our community goes through and what we have to deal with, and also being able to provide tools for those of us in our community who are struggling and having a difficult time. And so that was kind of my motivation for this cross country trip that I went on. And I am working on a video right now. It's not up yet, but it will be pretty soon, about my investigation at this music venue just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, called Bobby Mackey's Music World. In the paranormal world, it's a pretty well-known spot. It's known for being very paranormally active, and there's a lot of different things, different stories that have been said about this place.
What is a music world? Because I've got an idea in my head of like a theme park, but it's not a theme park, is it?
No, it's actually just a brief history of it. It started as a roadhouse back in the early 1920s, and has since gone through quite a bit of different revamps due to various owners that have owned it. But it's essentially like a bar / music venue. So there's a bar there, there's a stage. It used to be, back in the day, it was a casino, an underground casino. There was a time when, during American Prohibition, that it was a distillery for bootleg alcohol. But nowadays, it's just a bar. There's a there's a mechanical bull there, and a stage for various musicians who come and play there.
And there's paranormal activity. Is this kind of like is it kind of notorious for this sort of thing?
It is actually. It's been on various different ghost hunting TV shows. I know Ghost Adventures went there, and other ghost shows. And that's actually why I picked it. I chose places, one, that I have a history of paranormal activity. I felt that choosing places like that might give me a better chance of experiencing or capturing something. I have various different technologies, different cameras that I was using to try and capture various types of evidence. I definitely experienced some interesting things there. The thing I think that draws me to it the most is that the caretaker of this place, who worked there for, I think, near 3 decades, from the 70s on, was a diagnosed schizophrenic. And so it was a very interesting location to me because of that dynamic, that connection between someone who is schizophrenic and paranormal hauntings, paranormal presences. And so I think that's largely what my YouTube video on this investigation specifically will be about, is the connection between the two, between a schizophrenic person and the paranormal.
Yeah. Do you personally, what is your personal opinion on schizophrenic experiences and the paranormal? Because the reason I ask that is because I kind of feel that a lot of my experiences are paranormal. So do you in your own personal experience, do you feel that? Is that what sort of triggered this kind of cross-country tour?
Yeah, I definitely think there is a direct connection between the paranormal and people who are labeled schizophrenic. I think ultimately what schizophrenia is just people who are born, who are naturally very sensitive to the energies, the universal energies around them, more sensitive than most people, I would think. And even though I think that all human beings are capable of sensing and understanding and experiencing these universal energies through various training methods, we all have the hardware in us. I think some people are just born with that hardware already up and running. And so I think a lot of the things that we experience are a direct result of paranormal influences, different types of spirits, different types of multidimensional entities. Some of them are parasitic in nature, like demonic activity. Demons, I would consider multidimensional parasites. They feed on specific types of energy that we emit in certain situations. And so I actually am diving more into how demonic influence delusions work on schizophrenics, and where these delusions come from, and how they manifest, and why. And I think that's why Bobby Mackey's music world is so intriguing to me, because it seemed as though the demonic influences at that location really played a big role in the caretaker's life, who worked there for such an extended period of time. And it actually played into a lot of the stories about the place. I noticed there's a lot of stories going around on the internet about this specific location. And I think a lot of them are maybe a direct result of these demonic delusions that were created in the caretaker's mind, that he then went on to talk about later in life.
Did you speak to the caretaker?
No, he's actually since passed away, although I did feel his presence while I was there.
You know, because yeah, it's interesting. I kind of take paranormal experiences for granted now. Me personally, I just, because I've got a, you know, as far as I'm concerned, life is very temporary, and then we go back to spirit, and that's it. But and paranormal in terms of what I experience, so I do get a bit of psychic activity. I'm not saying that I can, you know, read people's mind at will, but I do get a feeling for this sort of activity, like on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think you know, I know when I am with certain people, when I'm with my mom, someone I have a pretty strong connection with, we're pretty close. I know that a lot of times I can start to feel what she's feeling. Actually, she, during this most recent eclipse in the United States, she actually flew out to be with me, and we went up to Niagara Falls to be together. And I actually ended up experiencing a hot flash. She's going through that time in her life, and just because of our close connection, our energetic connection, I was able to feel what she was feeling, which was actually pretty interesting. And so I think, you know, it takes a lot of training to really hone these skills. Although I do know there are classes out there. I've taken a few of them that were offered here in the city in New York. But yeah, I think these types of connections do exist that facilitate things like telepathy, and being able to sense and feel other people's energy. And actually, something that this trip has taught me is how to build protections around myself, so that I'm not always feeling other people's energies, so that I can stay in my own energy and not take on the negativity that might be coming from other people.
Yeah, I've never really talked about this, but I do feel that if I go out in public, I will pick up on somebody else's energy. Say if we have an encounter, or maybe we're just shopping in the same shop. Suddenly, I'll feel the energy to do what they would like to do. It's very difficult to explain, but it does happen.
I can definitely say I know what you're talking about, or at least I've had experiences where I've been feeling other people's energy. I think you know, we have our physical body, which is pretty easy to get a grasp on. You know, we also have an energetic body, you know, an energy body that exists, that actually runs our physical body. But this energy body can sit up to 30 feet beyond our physical body. And so when you're around other people, your energy body is going to mingle, we'll say, with other people's energy bodies. And that actually is how we can feel or sense what other people are going through, what they're feeling, what they're thinking sometimes, depending on what they're thinking.
I mean, I would say the energy body is independent of our three-dimensional reality. So if you're speaking with someone on the phone or on the internet, it can even happen then, but it's like an independent of the local 3D reality. Do you understand what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I think when you start talking about an energy body, it's also important to start to understand how the fabric of space-time works, and the fact that really time is an illusion and so is space. I mean, as a Reiki master, we are taught that we can use our ability to heal people regardless of where they are. We can do remote healings, we can do remote viewings, these kinds of things, and that really goes into the idea or the fact that everything is connected energetically to everything else within the universe. The whole universe is connected to everything else in the universe, and so we can tap into this network of connections, and be able to interact and communicate, and be connected to things that are not physically close to us.
Yeah. I also feel, that psychosis where you're watching the television and it feels like, it's speaking directly to you, or you have a synchronicity with with what is going on the television, and it might have been recorded 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It's like what I was thinking the other day is like psychosis can reveal the interconnections in reality, independent of space and time, because we're connected, right? Spiritually. So it's just reveal. When you're in that psychotic state, it just reveals those connections.
Definitely. And I would even argue that, when you're experiencing these synchronicities, I would argue that it isn't technically even a psychosis, because it is actually happening. Our reality is much more fluid than we are led on to believe. And so when we're experiencing these synchronicities, we're experiencing the interconnectedness of the universe, but we're also, depending on how the synchronicities are working, we're experiencing things that show us that we can really make our reality anything that we want to. And depending on how these synchronicities are working, I know for me, numbers are a big thing. And so I'll see repeating numbers everywhere. I'll look at the clock at the same time every day, even though I'm not meaning to. I just happen to look at it and see that. Or I'll see license plates or other various things in my day that will lead to these repeating numbers happening. And I think that these kinds of synchronicities are there to kind of help me to be comfortable in knowing that I'm in the right place at the right time, and that I'm doing what I need to do, and that the universe has my back. And I think also sometimes these types of synchronicities or other types of synchronicities can lead to a more negative response. And I think that that's when these multidimensional parasites come into play, and they can manipulate your world around you. They can also manipulate your perception of the world around you, so that you are seeing and experiencing things that might create a negative response within you that leads to suffering. And ultimately, these low dimensional parasites, low vibrational parasites, they then feed on the energy that's created when we suffer that low vibrational energy. And so
I just want to say, because I feel that there's always an entity, at least one entity, experiencing what I'm experiencing, and sometimes it makes me angry. It's like I feel as if it's it will make me look at a word on a page which is triggering for me. And it'll make me, it will actually make me really angry sometimes. And that happens pretty much every day, And
I could relate to that. I think a big thing for me is coughing. I'll hear people cough around, and this weird connection, this weird idea comes into my mind that this cough is somehow a way for the world around me to show me that these people know who I am, and that they're letting me know who I am in an indirect way, so that I know that they're there, uh, even though, and they're playing a part in this whole kind of Truman Show reality, even though, of course, they have no knowledge of it. And it leads into this paranoid spiral that I can go into. And I think part of what I've been doing is learning how to, one, cleanse myself of these low vibrational entities that create these situations that cause this suffering, how to release myself from their clutches, so to speak, but then also how to protect myself so that I can stay free of these entities, so that I can move forward without having to deal with
I
these.
mean, if these entities are there and they can attack anybody, it kind of makes you think we've got no chance, right?
Well, I think as long as we aren't doing anything about it, then you're right. We don't have a chance, But I think it's just like dealing with parasites in the physical world. If you've got something living in your intestines, or if you've got a tick attached to you, if you just let it be there, then it's going to be there and feed off of you for as long as you'll let it. But I think, if you know that it's there and you do something about it, then you can free yourself from it. And then I think there's definitely reason to hope and see, experience a better reality, a better time, than just being stuck with things.
Also I feel,
And
there's a lot of things that I think about which people just don't talk about. Like the way there'll be, like when I used to live in the city, my mindset was completely different to now where I'm living in a remote area of Scotland. It's completely changed. And I think that's due to like the local area of the local sort of thought space about, because people in the city they'd all have similar kind of thought patterns, and I had those as well. And I think it's locally based. And now that I've moved remote, it's changed. It has seriously changed a lot.
Yeah, I know. Living in New York, there is definitely a very dense, low vibrational energy here that affects people. And I know that when I leave the city, I do feel different. And I actually make sure to take time on a regular basis to leave the city and to go spend time in nature away from the city, to kind of detox the energy that I pick up here in New York, and to also replenish myself. I think being in nature is an extremely healing experience, and I think being fully present in nature can really change the game for everybody. So yeah, I do think that especially in big cities, there can be a lot of very chaotic energy, a lot of low vibrational energy, especially now in these times that we're going through. I think what we're experiencing now is pretty unique to the rest of human history, and so
Frank,
I definitely think that
I've got an understanding of low vibrational energy, but can you just explain it so that people can have a better understanding of it?
Yeah. So energy vibrates at different frequencies. Ultimately, it's all frequencies of light energy, light waves. And the higher this energy vibrates, the more positive it is, the more clear it is, the more effortless it becomes. We have entities that vibrate very high, and they are there to help us, like our spirit guides. Sometimes our ancestors are there to help us, and they're very high vibrational entities. And I would say too that human emotion can be put onto this scale. Things like joy and peace and contentment, they're very high vibrational emotions that we feel, versus lower vibrational emotions, which might be depression or sadness, anger, rage. These are lower vibrational emotions. And there are also, just as there are very high vibrational entities out there, there are also low vibrational entities that exist in the low vibrational planes of existence, the
Yeah,
low
that makes
vibrations.
sense.
And these parasites come from, which on low vibrational energy. That's what they
do you do
consume.
you
So I don't
do you
know if that.
ever watch NDEs? I love watching NDEs. Near death experiences, and
Yeah, a friend of mine is really into them. He's always sending me videos of people talking about their NDE experiences, and I find them very
yeah,
fascinating. And I find the similarities, in these people who have never met each other. They're living their lives in different parts of the world, and yet somehow these people are all having very similar experiences during these near-death experiences, and I think there's a lot to be learned from
yeah.
all of that.
Because
Very interesting.
there's one famous one. I've forgotten his name. It's a famous person who had, and it's a famous NDE in terms of Howard Storm. Howard Storm is his name. I don't know if you've heard of him, but you can look him up afterwards. Howard Storm. But when he first died, he went in the low vibrational plane of existence, where it was like darkness,
Okay.
and the people, the spirits were they were grabbing at him. They were kind of taunting him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
to scare him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what made me think about it. Because, and I've read that in other NDEs, that there is a low vibrational spirit plane where some spirits feel more comfortable and they stay there even though it's on their free will. They can leave if they wish.
Yeah,
But
I think I've encountered spirits on many different occasions throughout my travels, in many different situations, and I think sometimes when we experience a very difficult life path during our lives, we end up passing on, and I think sometimes we don't know that we've passed on, or there's something that happened to us in our life that we can't let go of, and so we end up kind of stuck. And I think that spirits can get stuck in these low vibrational planes. I think sometimes we think that we have to punish ourselves, and so even in death, or after we've passed on, I should say, we choose to stay in these places because we are under the impression that we have to suffer, that we have to, pay for whatever it is
yeah,
that we may have done in our lifetime. And so, yeah, those places do exist. And uh, that also has been a very interesting part of all this for me. I've encountered spirits who have been trapped where they are, and they wanted to go back to the other side and be free of the place that they are. And I've also encountered spirits who choose to remain there. I give them the option to go back to the other side, and they say, "No, I want to stay here." And
yeah.
so I
I
let
mean,
them.
you talk about it quite candidly, but it's still, we still live in very much in a world which shuns and and views the spiritual side with a great deal of cynicism and doubt. Um, but so I think, yeah, you speak quite comfortably with it, which is good, but it's not usual, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, I think paranormal research, there's a long history of paranormal research, and I think especially back during the Victorian era, it became very in vogue to participate in seances and things like that, and people were very interested in this sort of thing. I do think that the powers that be right now kind of suppress this type of information just to keep us in a
yeah,
state of sickness,
because
because I think
currently the vibration is pretty low, you know,
yeah,
globally.
um, yeah, and I think really understanding the energetic side of things can change a lot for a lot of people and really improve pretty much everyone's experience. It's like, here's kind of an analogy that I use. If you don't brush your teeth on a regular basis and take care of your teeth, they'll start to fall out. And I think that, taking care of our physical body is just something that we all do on a daily basis just to keep it running and in good form, and so I think the same thing applies to our energetic bodies. We have to care for it and maintain it in order for it to be healthy and balanced. And I think a lot of people don't understand or don't realize that is necessary and that they have to be taking care of that. And I think that's where a lot of our sickness and our unhealthiness, both in the body and the mind and the spirit, comes from today, is just lack of understanding on how to care for that part of our
what comes with
being.
higher vibration is clarity and understanding as well, because
yeah, I think when we're existing in the lower vibrations, the lower vibrational frequencies, that comes with a lot of confusion and inability to understand our surroundings, and even distortion in our perception, our ability to see the truth around us. If we're unhealthy in our energy bodies, then we're going to be focused on the negative things that we experience throughout the day, and we won't see the positive things. But the higher we start to vibrate, the healthier your energy body becomes, and you are vibrating on this higher level. You're seeing things more clearly. You're seeing the positive side of things over the negative side of things, and your daily life becomes
like,
infinitely better.
In Scotland, there's famous Neolithical, which is ancient, which is thousands of years old, standing stones. So, like in Easter Island, they've got those those heads, the giant heads. In Scotland, they've got these standing stones. But I just think that reflects high vibration, because to me, I view it as something calm, peaceful, and transcendent. Do you know what I mean? It's like so in the past they must have had that ability, because it's like a standing stone. It's it just seems transcendent,
Oh, definitely. And actually, there's a TV show right now that is focused on doing these various types of experiments at Skinwalker Ranch, which is a place located in northeastern Utah. And there's actually a stone circle there that they were doing different various experiments on, and they were learning that there's actually a response there. We're getting energetic response and stimulation to these stones. And I think that, we're also understanding too that things like pyramids affect the energy around them in a positive way. And there's all these ways that energy can be manipulated in its flow, and harnessed. And I think that a lot of these sacred monolithic spots around the world tap into that and do manipulate the energy both in positive and negative ways. And so, I think also that we've kind of forgotten where we came from. I think back then, in these ancient times, very aware of the energetic world, and we were very present with it, and we could work with it, and we understood how to be healthy within it. And I think we've kind of forgotten that in this modern age. And I think that we're at a time now where we're starting to wake up and remember where we came from, and remember that we can use this knowledge to our advantage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
be
the
healthier
internet,
because of it.
Obviously the internet is not all good, and it's got a dark side. But the one of the things about the internet is that we can all access this information, about, before, like 20 years ago, you had to go to a library and you had to find a book, and only a few people would do that. And a lot of these books were quite unknown. Like, but these days, it's much more out there. And even like, so like Curse of Skinwalker Ranch, I've watched a few episodes. They fire rockets up in the air because there's something strange in the sky above the ranch, which is like a void, and I'm not sure what it is, because I'm into all this UFOs and aliens and all this sort of thing.
Totally. Yeah, I think the internet is a game changer. I mean, I think that it's helping us to connect with people all over the world. I mean, I think prior to the internet, it was very difficult. We may have had, going back to your reference to NDEs, you may have people in one area who are experiencing something, but there's no way to connect to people around the world who are experiencing the same thing. So it kind of goes unnoticed for a long time. But then with the internet and the connection of the world and the people of the world, I think we're starting to see these patterns and to see that, these patterns aren't localized, but that people all over the world are having the same exact experiences. And that, I also am very big into the UFO scene and UFO world. I think the internet is showing us now that, people are posting sighting videos from all over the world, and you can find millions of these videos around, they're everywhere. And I think that, for a long time, we kind of, had these impressions that, oh, it's only happening here, or it's not happening everywhere else. But now we're clearly seeing that these things aren't isolated events, that they are happening everywhere, and that there's something to pay attention to.
Anyway, Frank, let's leave that for another episode. You're welcome to come back and we can talk more about UFOs and NDEs if you want to do that. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. I think you've got a lot of knowledge. And you have a I think our interests are kind of like parallel, and the sort of they're kind of like parallel but not exactly the same, but in the same ballpark. So I think we both have similar interests of in that regard. So anyway, I just want to thank you for coming on the show again.
My great pleasure.
So I'm going to put Frank's YouTube channel. Have you got the link already for your channel?
Yeah, I will definitely get that information to you. I think right now the best thing is to go through my website. I'll have all of that available on my website.
Was it punk?
Yeah.
Pickleswine.com. Pickleswine.com, yeah.
EIC.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. It's always interesting to talk about life, which is important, but just doesn't get a chance to come out in the conversation usually. So, I'm thankful that we had this conversation. It was, I think it's healthy, and I could actually talk about things which I've never talked about before. So that was good.
I think healthy for all of us, healthy for you and both me and then everyone who's also listening.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much. What I'm doing, this is season 3, and I'm playing binaural beats on the intros and the outros now. So I'm not sure if you have any particular preference, or I'll just choose one from the library.
I think whatever you choose will be great. I'm sure your intuition is guiding you more than you know, and so whatever you end up picking will be the exact right fit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.
Bye.